Greetings, friends. We've come to Sefer Shemos, the book of Exodus, and we now plunge into Galus Mitzrayim, the exile in Egypt. The Chafetz Chaim stated that our slavery in ancient Egypt is the prototype scenario for the events at the time of the final redemption. If we ever thought that the story of ancient Egypt was some kind of fairy tale, then we should remind ourselves of what happened on October 7th and continues to this very day. Our granddaughter just returned from her 5th or 6th Shiva call to close friends whose husbands or brothers have been killed in the war. Mitzrayim was no fairy tale. It was a catastrophic darkness in which our ancestors were constantly beaten and tortured. Our babies were stolen to be placed inside brick walls being built in Pison and Ramses, while the diabolical Paro bathed in our children's blood. But our ancestors cried out to Hashem, and He saved us. Recently, Rabbi Moshe Sternbach Shlita said, quote, "Prayer without tears is not enough." My friends, we have to understand this. I'm quoting now the Gemara in Brachos. Rabbi Elazar said, from the day that the temple was destroyed, the gates of prayer were locked. But even though the gates of prayer have been locked, the gates of tears have not been locked. The only gate now open is the gate of tears. When our ancestors prayed with tears, Hashem answered them. I know a certain person who constantly checks his cell phone during davening. I do not claim that my prayers are adequate, but I would say it is better to throw the phone in the garbage than to throw away our tefillah. In Mitzrayim, when our ancestors davened with tears and groans, Hashem toppled the mighty Egyptian edifice until the entire structure collapsed. Only then could Am Yisrael lead to receive the Torah and redeem the world from darkness. Recently, following the events of Simchas Torah and our fervent prayers, a miraculous event occurred, an event which seems on the level of a nace, a miracle, which occurred in front of the eyes of the world. It would be very good if the entire world, both Jewish and non-Jewish, would take careful note of this. It is vital to recognize when Hashem is shaking our world. Our enemies think they can destroy us, God forbid. But in fact, Hashem is about to destroy them. And that is not an exaggeration. As King David says, quote, "When the wicked bloom like grass, and all iniquity blossoms, it is to destroy them until eternity." The event I'm referring to occurred in Turkey several weeks ago, after a member of parliament delivered a violent diatribe against those who support Israel. He ended his remarks with a curse, following which he immediately collapsed, and shortly thereafter, he died. My friends, this is not simple. At the end of Parshas Chayesara, the Torah records the death of Yishmael, and it says, quote, "These were the years of Yishmael's life, 137. Over all his brothers he dwelt." Rashi remarks on the unusual term the Torah uses for his death, the word nafal. He fell. The Baal HaTorah comments that this pasuk is juxtaposed with the pasuk that says, quote, "These are the offspring of Yitzchak," end quote. This teaches that when Yishmael's descendants fall in the end of days, then Mashiach, the descendant of King David, of the offspring of Yitzchak, will flourish. My friends, at the end of history, the seemingly invincible, huge population of the descendants of Yishmael, today called the Arab nations, most of whom are violent enemies of Am Yisrael, will fall when the descendants of Yitzchak flourish. In the days when Am Yisrael cries out to Hashem, the way our ancestors cried out in Mitzrayim, then Hashem will bring down our enemies in front of the entire world. Chazal tell us that Yishmael would take a bow and arrow and shoot in Yitzchak's direction while pretending to be playing. Yishmael pretends to be playing a game, but the game is murder. I recently heard a shiur in which the speaker explained, this is the way Yishmael fights. In the time of Yitzchak Avinu, he shot arrows from afar, and today he shoots missiles from Gaza. Nothing has changed. Our grandson, who just came out of Gaza, told me that Arab fighters do not engage in open combat. They pop out of doorways, take a shot, and run. The Arabs of today are cowards who shoot from afar and mix in with civilians, forcing them into harm's way. These are the ones who will fall when the offspring of Yitzchak will flourish. Prayers without tears are not enough. When we cry out to Hashem, at that time, Yishmael will fall, and the descendants of Yitzchak will flourish with the coming of Mashiach ben David. May it be soon in our days. Good Shabbos.